City of Higher Learning. That's when, I started with the administration of boxing as a boxing manager of Peninsula Technicon Boxing Club. I further on became the development officer of the National Student Sports Union in boxing. And I managed boxers as a manager licensee during those years up to until I got appointed as a board member in 2011 by the then Minister Fikile Mbalula, of which I served my full term. And from there, I've been also serving as a member of the sanctioning committee. It's a subcommittee of the board that is looking on approving the tournaments and events of boxing. So in brief, that's my brief, leadership history, and I've been leading as well in the Western Cape amateur structures as a general secretary of Western Cape Boxing Organization, as a president of Western Cape Boxing Organization. So in brief, that's my boxing, up to until I became the COO and currently the acting CEO.
Wow.
A cure a wound if you don't, go down the wound in order, and clean it, and that's a painful process, So we need that painful process and be able to be honest, on each other and be able to come up to say that, guys, this is the direction now that we are taking. And I believe, and it's not only a hope, I believe that we will get there. And with this particular journey that we will be taking moving forward, I believe South African boxing is going to get back to where it belongs.
Does that imply that you are soon going to have a series of conversations with all the stakeholders, like the promoters of the beautiful game of boxing, the boxers themselves, perhaps through their management teams and all of that, to ensure that everyone is on the same page about where you want to see boxing in the country going?
Of course, as I'm saying, that robust engagements, with all the stakeholders. Our act is talking about the Federation of Associations, of which it means that it's a federation of all different associations, the promoters associations, the managers associations, boxers associations, and so forth. And unfortunately, at this stage, it's only the promoters associations, that seem to be, established. However, we have to move with speed in terms of establishing, other associations so that there can be fairness, so that there can be consistent representation, because all stakeholders, must form that federation, which will be able, to give us a unified voice coming from the licensees, not only one component, because now it is a bit skewed, However, I've seen that from various media, social pages, that there are efforts, coming from various, it's their own initiative, of which there is nothing wrong with that, coming from managers, across. I saw one in Gauteng. I think they are planning to meet on the 3rd. I saw one in the Western Cape. They are planning to meet also on the 3rd. I think Eastern Cape as well. I'm not sure if it's the 4th. So those efforts means that there is hunger, from our licensees to engage and be able to, because there is a saying that says that nothing for us without us.
The Department of Basic Education, especially because that's where the tender age is, to see a scenario where, there could be boxing rings in some of the schools. You find some schools, they've got facilities that they don't know what to do with. And you can plug in a boxing ring there and let those that love the beautiful sport of boxing get involved in the sport, and let all the support structures that are needed, whether it's the medical team or whatever, through the Department of Basic Education and Boxing South Africa, let those, development packages be on board. How's the relationship looking like between Boxing South Africa, Department of Education, and of course, the Sport Ministry?
Yeah, I think those discussions must start to ensue at that level of the minister. Remember, at this stage, boxing is not, practiced at a school level. However, it is practiced at a higher education level. But now there has to be those discussions between the Minister of Basic Education as well as our Minister of Sports. Because we can't talk development and if we don't talk about boxing at a tender age. The former champions that we all proud of, that we talk of, our former world champions, about Vianney, about Welcome, about Brian, about Dingane, and many of them, they can tell you that they were boxing at school. That's where boxing starts. you know, and any other sport. For the Springboks to be where they are, surely they will tell you that they were doing rugby at school.
At school.
You know, the current cricket team, you know, surely most of them there, or all of them there, they did cricket at school. So we can't have a different view or a different approach when it comes to boxing. So that is one critical discussion, you know, that our minister must be able, you know, to champion, because once we start boxing at that level, you know, it you know, builds, you know, the character of those young boys and girls, you know. And boxing, you know, not only as a sport, but boxing plays a critical role in terms of psychological issues, you know, building the strength, you know, the mental strength, you know. It also builds character, you know, doing boxing, you know, just for fun. If you go to some boxing clubs around here, you will see that there's a lot of females that are doing boxing.
Ntlanganiso, thank you so much for staying on board. I wanted to touch back on the point you made before we went on an ad break, talking about the development of boxing in schools. Are we moving at the right pace so that we don't have a scenario where half a decade down the line, we're still planning or we're still dreaming?
I think at this stage, we really need to go back to the drawing board. Because I'm one person who like to put things as they are, you know, because if you know your problem, but your diagnosis is incorrect, unfortunately, you know, your interventions will also not yield the desired fruits.
True story.
So at this particular stage, we really need, you know, to go back to the drawing board. We say we start up fresh. Maybe understand why boxing was taken off schools at the time. Maybe there was a reason, you know, and be able to, you know, to package that. But taking it back now, you know, it needs all of us. It needs an effort that will be able to make sure that we really produce Olympians, you know, because we're even struggling, you know, when it comes to Olympics.
Yes.
Because that's where it starts, you know. So it needs a joint effort, both from a professional body, that is a BSA, as well as the amateur body, which is Sanabo. Officially at this stage, we've signed an MOU in the year 2022 with Sanabo. There are programs that we have in place, but those programs, they still need to be solidified, you know, in order for us, you know, to achieve, you know, what is entailed in the MOU. However, as I'm saying that we need all the boxing brains. Training methods, like what Kamnita stayed for quite a long time, you know, at Krong Gym, you know, in the US. Surely those training, you know, techniques, you know, that he got there, I still believe that he still has those training techniques, you know, and those training techniques, even for our current trainers, you know, they must be taken further so that we can develop our sport. Ambassadorship, you know, we've got programs like Boxing Against Crime that we are looking at putting, you know, in place. So some of them will have to play a role in terms of those kind of programs. Boxing against gender-based violence, boxing against drugs, you know. So this group of legends, together with our current national champions, because we also have a challenge that our current national champions are not properly known, you know, like our you know, former national champions, because you could know a national champion you know, at that time, but currently, you know, it's a different ball game. So that's the you know, the route that we are taking. And you know, I must thank all the legends, you know, because when I conducted them, all of them, you know, 100%, you know, they're saying that this is long overdue. You know, Mandla, this is long overdue, and we are there. We will support this program 120%, because there is nothing else that we know. It is this thing called boxing. Therefore, we are there. When can we start? So that's the energy that is there, and we won't disappoint. We will make sure that we put those programs in place.
I love the energy already. If you want to give us a call and speak to the Boxing South Africa CEO, Mr. Mandla Ntlanganiso, so the number to dial is +27 63 406 9126. So the lines are opened, and of course we want to find out from you, because Mr. Ntlanganiso raised something important to say. We can't have a conversation of boxing without the stakeholders of boxing, and I thought that was very profound. We've got Thembisile Mjele, the chairperson of Managers and Trainers Association in the Eastern Cape, who is on the line, and he wants to pass some words of encouragement. Mr. Ntlanganiso, I'll just request that you put the headsets on so that you don't lose out on any good knowledge that could help take the sport of boxing to another greater level. All right, let's welcome Thembisile Mjeje to the conversation. Thembisile, thank you so much for making time to get in touch with us on Africa at Play. Happy 2024, a warm welcome to Africa at Play. What would you like to say to the CEO, Mr. Ntlanganiso? Africa and Africa are listening.
Thank you for having me and your listeners. Good afternoon. I am Thembisile Mjeje, chairperson of the Eastern Cape Managers Association. As an association, we are established in terms of the Boxing Act. We are in agreement with the statement by the CEO. It will go a long way to alleviate the challenges we are experiencing in boxing. In the Eastern Cape, we are awaiting implementation stage. As stakeholders, we have to preserve the boxing to benefit all, and the CEO and the board are on the right track in doing this. Also, as manager, we would always like to have our success in boxing measured, not only in terms of the champions we produce, but also in terms of the contribution we have made in the communities within which we have boxing clubs. By reducing crime, awareness of HIV, reduction and elimination of drug abuse, and any other social evil that is affecting our community. So, Mr. Ntlanganiso, the CEO and the board are on the right track. All that we are waiting for, even if they were to implement from tomorrow onwards, that will be highly appreciated by our association in this country. Thank you.
A big thank you to Big Brother Thembisile Mjeje, who is the chairperson of Managers and Trainers Association in the Eastern Cape, who is on the line and talking all things, important issues around the sport of boxing.
I just want to thank Chemane on the inputs that he just gave. It means that we are aligned. What is important now is for us to properly coordinate each other and be able to have a strategic way of implementing this. It means that it's going to be easier for us moving forward, because he just touched exactly, on the programs that I've said, must be implemented, because boxing must be in the center of nation building and social cohesion, and we can't be seen only as just, hosting tournaments, and only. But if we are seen driving programs to assist our government in terms of fighting the social ills, I believe that that is one other way of marketing boxing, because boxing is in our communities, and some areas there is no other sport that they know other than boxing. So if we partner with, crime prevention, entities, if we partner with wellness entities, Department of Health and so forth, if we partner with SAPS in terms of drug abuse and social development, because if you go to the Department of Social Development, the issue of social cohesion, assisting the community in fighting drugs and fighting any other ills, I believe that boxing, is one sporting code that can be used, in order to fight these social ills. Therefore, Mr. Mjeje, we are aligned, and thank you for that, Chairman.